Hey, 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 you won't believe this insanity. A klutzy Captain America fangirl kicks the wrong Yankees air, smacking Manhattan, wrecking his world, and yours if you miss it. This is She Crashed His Couch, the wildest love story I've ever spilled. Maggie Harper, drunk off her ass, stumbles to Luke Donovan's place, nearly gets flattened by a truck just 'cause she misses him, while Luke bids on an ugly chicken painting to piss her off. They ditch their fortunes to run, but their families won't let it slide. Watch now, 'cause the ending'll drop your jaw. Hit like and share if you want to see if they burn the kitchen or their love on their wedding day. Hey, my awesome fam, welcome to this epic tale. Don't skip a second, I swear you'll want to stick till the end. Ready? Let's roll. Maggie Harper isn't the type you'd picture when you hear Harper Tech, the tech empire tearing up New York. At 27, she's a sharp-minded software engineer, but so clumsy she once spilled coffee on her laptop mid-meeting, nearly getting locked in a room by her dad, Ted, for embarrassing the family. Maggie's obsessed with cheeseburgers, Captain America t-shirts, and knows every Thor punch in the Marvel movies by heart. She calls herself a glitchy superhero, though her fighting skills come from a handful of YouTube clips and a few high school karate classes. That Friday afternoon, Manhattan was hot as a pizza oven. Maggie dragged herself out of HarperTech's headquarters after an endless meeting with crusty old bosses, her brain fixated on a greasy burger and Avengers. Endgame. Phone in hand, she muttered, "God, I'm bored to death. Gotta rewatch Infinity War tonight. Good thing Dad Ted didn't see me, or he'd lock me up for life." She scrolled mindlessly, oblivious to her surroundings. A few steps away, Luke Donovan, 29, heir to Donovan Realty, HarperTech's sworn enemy, leaned against a tiny newsstand, holding a water bottle. Today, he ditched the slick suits for a Yankees tee, ripped jeans, and scuffed sneakers. Fresh from catching up with an old buddy, Luke was taking a breather before heading home. With messy black hair and sharp eyes, no one'd peg him as a rich kid. Beneath his cool exterior, he's a funny guy. He just keeps it under wraps. Then the drama exploded. A gray-hoodied punk darted through the crowd, snatching a lady's wallet as she bought a hot dog. Luke barked, "Give it back, or I'm calling the cops." Panicked, the thief chucked the wallet at Luke and bolted. Luke caught it mid-air, about to call out to the lady when, "Freeze, you crook!" Maggie yelled. Spotting Luke with the wallet, looking movie star cool, her Marvel brain kicked in. Hoodie guy's the thief, Luke's his accomplice. She charged like Black Widow, throwing a YouTube-spun roundhouse kick. Luke dodged but stumbled, dropping his water bottle down his pants, shouting, "You soaked me like I ran through a storm!" before tumbling onto the sidewalk. Maggie pounced, pinning him down, screaming, "Call the cops! I nabbed him!" Luke blinked, baffled. "Are you nuts?" "I was helping," Maggie snapped. "Shut it, accomplice!" The crowd roared with laughter, phones filming like crazy. The hot dog lady stammered, "Who took my wallet?" Cops rolled up, checked the cameras, and declared, "You got it wrong, Harper." Maggie's face burned, mumbling, "His face totally looks criminal." But deep down, she felt a flicker of confusion. Why did this drenched dude make her annoyed yet curious? Luke smirked. "If you're a hero, I'm the damn president." They left the station, learning they were Harper and Donovan, glaring daggers at each other. Still, in those glares, there was a spark neither dared to admit. Maggie Harper and Luke Donovan figured that after the superhero nabs the wrong crook fiasco at the police station, they'd never cross paths again. To Maggie, that Yankees-jerseyed, criminal-faced guy was an embarrassing memory she wanted to wipe clean. Luke saw her as a clumsy nightmare worth forgetting fast. But life's like a cheap sitcom, throwing them together in the goofiest ways, leaving them annoyed yet, though they'd never admit it, kinda into it. A week after the chaos, Maggie was sent to sign a deal at Burger Bonanza, a swanky midtown burger joint. She swapped her Iron Man tee for a navy business dress, paired with sneakers for comfort, clutching a stack of papers. Stepping inside, eyes darting for her contacts table, she tripped over a pair of leather shoes sticking out from a chair. Ah! Maggie crashed down, flailing hands grabbing a coffee cup off a nearby table. To save face, she took a quick sip, then spat it out. God, who put salt in this? Luke Donovan, the unlucky victim, looked up, face twisted. That's my coffee, you Harper disaster. He was mid-meeting with a chubby client in a sharp gray suit who chuckled. She your assistant or something? Maggie flushed. That accomplice guy. Luke smirked. I'm no accomplice. You're the one wrecking my life. Maggie's bestie, Jess, at a nearby table, winked. You're into this Yankees dude, admit it. He's cooler than your Captain America. Maggie glared. Cool, my ass. The manager ushered them out for the racket, leaving Maggie fuming and Luke wiping his shirt. Days later, family dragged them to a Brooklyn charity gala. Maggie wore a long red dress, nearly face-planting in stiff heels, muttering, Who invented these torture devices? Luke, dapper in a black suit, spotted her and sighed. God, why's she here? The peak came at the auction, where they were roped onto stage to bid on a hideous scribbled chicken painting. The host called, starting at $500. Maggie shot up her hand. 1,000 to teach him a lesson. Luke fired back. 2,000 'cause she doesn't deserve this chicken. It escalated. 5,000. 10,000. The crowd howled, forgetting the ugly art. Luke won at 15,000, glaring at Maggie. Thanks for draining my wallet, Harper. She grinned slyly. Hang that chicken up and admire it, Donovan. The next week, Maggie pitched her AI project at a Manhattan conference, beaming, This is Harper Tech's game changer. Then Luke, down in the audience, coffee in hand, smirked and raised a hand. Does it fend off clumsiness, Harper? Like when you spat coffee all over my life? She snapped back. It's better than your buildings, Donovan. At least I don't construct stuff to crush people. The room erupted in laughter. Luke gave a crooked grin, but his eyes flicked over Maggie, thinking, This chick's a pain. Why's she stuck in my head? Maggie kept her cool, but inside she griped. Why do I keep running into him? They walked away, ticked off, but secretly hoping to clash again. Turns out, bickering was more fun than they'd thought. Maggie Harper and Luke Donovan were getting used to fate trolling them, tossing them together like two actors in a lousy comedy flick. At first, Maggie pegged Luke as an arrogant, criminal-faced jerk who'd humiliated her in front of all Manhattan, while Luke saw her as a klutz wrecking his life. But after a string of dumb run-ins, from spitting salty coffee to bidding on a scribbled chicken painting, annoyance gave way to curiosity, then morphed into a weird thrill they both stubbornly refused to own up to. One rainy Manhattan afternoon, Maggie stood shivering under a grocery store awning, her thin coat soaked, clutching a stack of smudged papers. She grumbled, Why's my life a total disaster? All I want is to get home and eat a burger. Right then, Luke's shiny black pickup screeched to a stop in front of her. Window down, he poked his head out, smirking. Harper, forget your umbrella? Hop in or you'll turn into a glitchy mermaid. Maggie shot him a glare. Who needs your help? I like the rain. It's refreshing. But her teeth chattered, shoulders trembling. Luke cracked up. Big talk for someone shaking like a wet pup. Get in or I'm tweeting this. Maggie huffed but climbed in, flopping onto the seat. Luke flipped on the radio. Springsteen blared. She pouted. What's with this old man music? He jabbed back. Beats your superhero tunes. They bickered, but Luke snuck a glance at her shivering, thinking, she's all tough talk, but damn, she looks fragile. Maggie muttered under her breath, if he weren't a Donovan, I might have said thanks. Another time, they bumped into each other at Slice Heaven, a cozy pizza spot near the office. Luke was hunched over his laptop when Maggie strolled in, spotted him, and yanked a chair over, teasing, What's with all the focus? Go shoot some hoops. She tugged his arm too hard, ripping his beloved Yankees tee wide open. Luke yelped, "You trashed my shirt, Harper." Blushing, she stammered, "Your shirt's too flimsy." He smirked, pulling a napkin from his pocket. "Wipe your hands or I'll be embarrassed for you." Maggie glared. "Who needs your kindness?" But took it, wiped up, and folded it neatly. Jess, her bestie, grinned from a nearby table. "You and Luke are straight out of a Marvel movie now." Maggie snapped, "Shut it." Yet she thought to herself, he's not as bad as Dad Ted makes him out to be. The peak came at a Queens community center, where they both ended up playing basketball with kids. Maggie, in a Spider-Man tee, spun tails. Then Captain Maggie soared up, socking her teammate 'cause she's half blind. The kids roared. Luke, in a light green polo, chimed in. "That teammate's got it rough, punched and trolled." A boy tugged Luke. "Keep playing, dude." A girl clung to Maggie. "More stories, sis." They got dragged off, no time to argue. Later, resting on a bench with water bottles, they blurted in unison, "What are you doing here?" Maggie squinted. "You stalking me?" Luke scoffed. "Like I've got time for that. You planning to drop balls everywhere?" But they laughed. Watching Luke with the kids, Maggie mused, "If he didn't tease me nonstop, this'd beat an Avengers marathon." Luke glanced at her, thinking, "She's a mess, but kinda cute." A sneaky spark flickered like magnets forced apart but pulling closer anyway. Maggie Harper and Luke Donovan knew exactly who the other was. Harper and Donovan, names like oil and water in New York's business world. But amid their bickering and jabs, they deliberately ignored that divide to soak up their odd moments together. Maggie told herself, "So what if he's a Donovan? I could still kick his ass." Luke thought, "She's a Harper, sure, but messing with her beats 100 board meetings." Problem was, that little game of pretend couldn't last forever. One rainy Friday night, Maggie slumped in her Brooklyn apartment, rocking a gray hoodie and black leggings, hair tied up in a messy bun. A cheap beer and a plate of cold fries sat on the table. A grueling week at Harper Tech had drained her, but the longer she sat, the more Luke's image haunted her, his smirk, that torn shirt, the way he goofed with the kids. She opened Instagram, staring at a pic of him on the basketball court, muttering, "I shouldn't like this jerk, so why do I?" By her third beer, her head spun. She grabbed her coat, slipped on old sneakers, and bolted out, forgetting to lock the door. Stumbling through Queens streets, rain slapping her face, Maggie sobbed and yelled, "Luke Donovan, you idiot, I've got to tell you." The slick road betrayed her. A truck barreled toward her as she drunkenly staggered forward. Luke, hearing frantic pounding, flung his door open, saw her collapse and dashed out, yanking her back, shouting, "Are you insane, Harper?" Trying to get flattened? Clinging to his shirt, she mumbled, "It's your fault. I missed you too much." Luke, flustered, heart racing, dragged her inside and shut the door. "Quit screaming, you'll wake all of Queens," he half-joked, half-worried, easing her onto the couch. Maggie latched onto him, slurring, "Don't leave me," before passing out on his chest. Luke flushed, unable to push her off, and held her as he drifted off. Morning sun pierced the curtains, jolting Maggie awake with a pounding headache. Panicked, she found herself in Luke's arms, clothes askew. "What the hell?" she shrieked, startling him. "Why am I here?" Luke yawned. "You were wasted, ran over, nearly got hit by a truck, hugged me, then crashed." "Oh, and you drew on my face." He pointed to his cheek, Maggie's scrawled in marker. His phone showed the security cam footage. Maggie giggling like a fool, doodling on him, declaring, "You're mine!" Her phone rang. Ted bellowed, "Maggie, you're with that Donovan punk? Get home now or I'm axing your AI project." She freaked, yelling back, "Don't touch my dream!" and hung up, pale as a ghost. Jess texted instantly, "You actually ran to Luke's? Hilarious! Spill the tea." Maggie fired back, "Shut up! I want to disappear." The drama didn't stop. A photo of them at the community center leaked. Ted raged. "Luke Donovan, that enemy brat!" Clara icily told Luke, "Maggie Harper, kiss your inheritance goodbye." They met in a park, parting glumly. Maggie forced a quip. "Next time, don't spill beer on me, 'kay?" Luke's voice dropped. "I don't want this, Harper. You're the first time I've ever wanted to break family rules." She turned away, eyes stinging, heart heavy, knowing their love was teetering. After that wild night when a drunk Maggie Harper stormed Luke Donovan's place, hugged him yelling, "You're mine," and passed out, they both realized they couldn't live without each other. Despite the Harper-Donovan divide standing tall like a fortress, despite family threats to cut them off, their love had survived every ridiculous test, from spitting salty coffee to bidding on a scribbled chicken painting. To stay together, they had to choose, ditch the money, the fame, the air labels, and they picked love. No hesitation. The next morning, they lounged on Luke's couch, still groggy, clothes rumpled. The marker scrawl Maggie's had been scrubbed off Luke's face. Maggie glanced around the apartment thinking, "Goodbye, Harper Tech. Goodbye, stress. Luke's all I need." She sipped the coffee he'd brewed, this time not burnt, and sighed. "I'm so done being a Harper. My dad'll never accept you." Luke set his mug down, clutching the auctioned baseball, muttering, "I'd lose it all as long as I've got her." He nodded. "Mom's the same, threatening to cut me off. But I want you, just Luke, no Donovan crap. You in?" Maggie grinned. "I'm in." They cracked up, making the biggest call of their lives, to run away. They moved fast, like superheroes from Maggie's favorite flicks. She scribbled a note for Ted. "Dad, I'm choosing happiness. Don't look for me." Luke texted Clara, "Mom, I'm out. Bye." They grabbed some clothes, a bit of cash, and hopped into Luke's beat-up pickup from a buddy. But on that rainy night fleeing New York, the truck broke down on a deserted road. Rain poured. Luke fumbled with the hood while Maggie tried helping with a wrench, dropping it on his foot. Luke hollered, "You trying to cripple me?" She snapped back, "You're fixing it slower than a turtle." They bickered and tinkered, rain soaking their faces until the engine roared back to life. They hugged, laughing in the downpour, drenched but warm inside. They landed in a small Pennsylvania town, tree-lined streets, red-roofed houses, where no one knew their names. They rented a rickety one-story place, white walls faded, yard overgrown, but it had a cozy kitchen and a movie-watching couch. With their last bucks, they opened Burger Bonanza. On launch day, Maggie, in a green tee and apron, splattered sauce on the counter. Luke teased, "You cook and the customers'll bolt." She pouted, "You ring up slower than a turtle, Mr. Fancy Air." Local folks cracked up, sucked into their goofy vibe. The joint got busy. They lived simply. No fancy cars, no suits, just cheap burgers and good times. Every night, they'd chill on the porch, munching fries, swapping nonsense stories. One evening, washing dishes behind the counter, Luke looked at Maggie, voice soft. "Just you and me." She beamed. "Then you're on dish duty from now on." Ted and Clara secretly dropped by, saw their kids glowing. Ted mumbled, "Maggie's smiling more than she ever did at home. How was I so wrong?" Clara thought, "Luke's never been this happy at Donovan Realty." Quietly, they chose to make peace, letting these two goofballs live the life they wanted. 55. Maggie Harper and Luke Donovan were living peacefully at Burger Bonanza when one day all four parents, Ted Harper, Lisa Harper, Clara Donovan, and Frank Donovan, texted them to come back to New York. Luke freaked. "We're toast. This is war. I can see Ted slamming the table and Mom yelling her head off." Maggie smirked. "If they start swinging, you're my shield, got it?" They chuckled, hopped into the old pickup, a mix of nerves and excitement buzzing as they braced for an epic showdown. But at Harper-Tech's meeting room, they froze. All four sat together, tension nowhere in sight. At first, Ted and Clara balked at the wedding. Ted growled. You two want to tie the knot? Grill burgers for the guests without burning 'em. Prove your love. Clara nodded. Yeah, or don't even dream of it. Maggie and Luke exchanged looks, diving into the backyard kitchen at the Harper house. Maggie dropped the meat tray, Luke set the stove ablaze, smoke billowing everywhere. Guests coughed, but the pair shouted through grins, "This is how we love each other!" Ted blinked, stunned. Clara softened. Ted sighed, gazing at Maggie. Fine, if you're happy. I used to think Harper Tech was everything, but your smile matters more. Clara took Luke's hand. I was wrong to push you, now I just want you happy. Lisa and Frank nodded, all four raising glasses. All right, get married. The wedding unfolded in the lush Harper garden. Maggie rocked a simple white dress with sneakers. Luke sported a tight black baseball shirt, beaming wide. Guests cheered. Jess, Maggie's bestie, dashed up, teasing, You snagged the Yankees guy. Captain America's got to be jealous. Maggie glared. Shut it, or I'll shove a burger in your mouth. Ted chimed in. But Luke, no more sauce on your shirt. Clara laughed. Maggie's a klutz too. Lisa added. Must be genetic. Frank roared. A whole family of screw-ups. They shot each other looks, then burst out laughing, the crowd joining in the uproar. Post-wedding, Maggie and Luke joined the Harper-Donovan venture. Ted and Frank handled strategy. Lisa and Clara managed finances. Two rival empires, now buddies. They still argued over who made better burgers, cackling when both torched the kitchen. Their parents just shook their heads. These two will never grow up. Life hummed on perfectly in their little house near headquarters. One night, sprawled on the couch munching fries, they swapped old tales. Ted, Lisa, Clara, and Frank dropped by, squeezing in. Ted asked, You two good? Maggie leaned on Luke. We've got this. Luke grinned. But she better not stumble drunk to my place again. Then Luke pulled out a t-shirt for Maggie, printed with Super Klutz, winking, For my superhero. Maggie cracked up, handing him a baseball labeled Donovan MVP. For you, don't burn anything else. The room erupted in laughter, Frank bellowing, Total Klutz family. The joy echoed, proving their goofy love not only conquered old grudges, but bonded two families forever. Maggie whispered, Worth it? Luke kissed her hair. Totally, you're my everything. They smiled, knowing their greatest treasure was each other. That's a wrap. Maggie and Luke turned every mess into a burger sweet ending. Burnt kitchens, klutzy chaos, and crazy love. What did you think of this goofy duo? Don't hold back. Smash that like button if you laughed your head off, and share if you'd kill for a super klutz in your life. Drop a comment with your favorite part. Was it Maggie's epic miss kick or Luke bidding on that hideous chicken painting? Hit subscribe so you don't miss more wild stories from us. Thanks, my awesome fam. Catch you in the next video.